So the SE5 can be used in a couple different ways. It doesn't have to be connected to the computer, but it has its own memory inside, and we can actually do analysis and balancing and all those things just from what's stored inside. But when you see what you can do with the computer, it like amplifies that times 100. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my SE5. I'll show you a few of the features first, and then after that I'll take a guinea pig, if you want, and we'll have an actual demonstration. This is our database. Am I blocking anybody's view? I probably am. Right, get down here. Each one of these is one main section. For example, the biofield section. We could take a measurement on the overall biofield section to see if there's anything underneath of that that might need balancing. And then we could select that, or go underneath of that, and you would find then what we would call the subcategories. Would the problem be in the chakras, for example? Would it be in the subtle bodies or polarities or meridians? Let's say we found something in the chakras. Then we can go underneath of the chakras, and then we could measure each one of these different chakras and different tunings that are related, like aura coordination, imbalances, etc. And we can do this quite quickly. But that's just to give you an overview of what's in the database. So we can have, this is just one database. So we've got the biofield system, then you can check psychological, cellular, nutritional, metabolic, neurological, endocrine, etc., etc. And you go right down this list and check each one of these and take an amplitude reading. And the nice part is it'll store that information for you. So when you're done, you can print out a report, and you can just get a quick overview from all the different systems to see what things need work. And then you can go back and go underneath of that and really hone in on exactly what you need. Does that make sense? We can work with colors, flower essences, herbs, homeopathics. Just under the homeopathic level, for example, all the homeopathics that start with the letter A. So then you can just go through the entire list and find a homeopathic remedy that might be useful. And you can make the remedy with the SE5. So that just gives you an idea what's in the database. The nice thing is that we can choose different databases. For example, Jan back here, who's going to teach the 2 of the days of the SE5 training course this week, has a new database which has 60,000 tunings in it. Is that right? Am I somewhere around 60,000? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Now, that must seem overwhelming. What would I do with 60,000 tunings? Well, what you can do is you only use the parts that are relevant to that person. So you don't have to go through all 60,000 tunings to find out what they need. You go through the main headings and only focus on those areas. But once you find that area, then you've got a complete something to hold on to in that focused area. Ludi has her own database for gardening and food stuff. You know, she's created her entire own database. And these are just a list of several of, you know, I have a lot of different databases. No, most people don't have this many, but. So we could actually just change database and go to a whole nother set of way of looking at things. So the one that I did there, that I showed you, starting with biofield, that was developed by Dr. Greg Morgan, who was my mentor and teacher. And some of you might remember Greg as well from USPA. And he created the entire biofield manual. That's kind of coming from a medical way of thinking. Yeah? We're moving more and more away from that. Jan is coming more from an energetic. He's worked more with Chinese medicine and color therapy and working more from an energetic perspective. Yeah? And not so much medical. We want to get away from this whole, you know, medicine has failed, let's face it. The Western medical model has failed. I'll put that on YouTube. From my perspective, Western medicine has failed the human race. Yeah? So we want to actually move more and more away from that. We want to move away from symptoms and disease, and we want to move towards health and vitality. That's where it's all at. Our body knows how to do everything already. If we have the vitality, we have the strength in our system, our body already knows how to do everything. Okay, so if I were to do a quick analysis of somebody, I'm going to show you, of course we can do reports, I'll show you how we do the measurement and the balancing. But I'm going to show you a really quick method, which relates to the chakras, the 7 main chakras, and their related organs. I'm not going to do the whole biofield thing. It takes a couple hours, really, to get through a really good analysis, which so I'm going to put his hair inside the slot here. We've got a cell in the back where the hair goes. So I'm going to put in your name. I'm going to make a new client here. And what's your name?
Robert.
Robert?
Robert. R-O-B-E-R-T.
Yeah. And I'm not going to put in last names because this is going to go out to millions of people on YouTube. We hope. Okay, so now I've made him a new client, and I can select Robert as my client. And if I had imported his digital photo, it would show up here in that upper right-hand corner. And if we're using a digital photo, the key is you need to have the photo on the screen, because we have, what do we have in our screen? Crystals, liquid crystals. So again, those crystals are resonating, and that's what creates the link. So you don't want to be answering your emails while you're trying to do a balancing with somebody. You want to have their photo up on the screen so you pick up the resonating field. We'll just do a test for Robert as the name of the session. Robert, I tend to put the date in here because the session name is what will show up in your SE5 if you transfer your session into the SE5. See, I could do like 50 different clients, and if I wanted to use my computer for something else, I can transfer them all into the SE5 and store them there, and I could balance them from there. So it has memory inside of it as well. So you can probably do 50 or 100 different clients and store them in there. Okay, so this is Robert, and I like to put the date because if I have several sessions for the same client, I can know which date is which. So today's date is the 10th. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know about the basics of this, but we go through some intake clearances before we ever work on somebody to find out if it's appropriate to work and use this technology. Because remember, on that scale, it works way up there at the scalar level. It's pretty high up there. And you're right at that bridge there where we would call the karmic level. You know, some people actually pick up what I would call karma or gravitational field. The soul level at that archetype level, they grab onto a karma, the seed karma, And that seed karma gives them enough gravity for the soul to come down to earth. And that might be an illness. That might be their seed karma of what is holding them here. And you don't want to mess with that, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. It's only happened to me 5 times in the last 25 years, maybe 6 times, but I do check it every time. So I'm going to take a reading, and if you notice up here, it says this string of letters is a code. It's a protection code, and I want to make sure that I'm protected from Robert while I'm doing this, because it is a psycho-interactive, it's a consciousness interactive process, and I want to make sure that that's really balanced. And that is fine. So I'm going to go to the next one. So if it has a plus in front of it, that means its ideal state should be 100%. And if it doesn't have a plus in front of the tuning, it means its ideal state is 0. I know a lot of you work with 50 or the vitality scale. You can do any of those. That happens to be the one we're using as a 0 to 100 right now. Energy purity. If this reading reads below 85%, then I would not work on Robert. I would just say, you know, find a different modality. Might be acupuncture or whatever. Might be okay. But not all the way up at the scalar level. So it's 96%. And then we check for interference to make sure there's no geopathic stress zones, electromagnetic interference. Could be even negative thought forms from FBI agents. It's good, we got a clear field. You guys are a little slow, come on. Okay, so there are some in here. I get it. Everybody's holding their breath. You thought my disclaimer was just for fun. Okay, barriers to rapport. We also want to have a resonant field that is in harmony with each other, so I don't want to have any barriers to our rapport. It's 1.3%, it's fine. If it was a little higher, I'd balance those. Anything that would out of balance, I would balance it right then, of these. And let's see what Robert's vitality is. And then I'll give you a lot of information about it. 81, okay. Robert, that's pretty good. The general public is usually between 70 and 80%. Okay. When I mean general public, they usually have 1, 2, or 3 chronic diseases and have at least 3 to 5 long-term pharmaceuticals that they're taking, and they eat at McDonald's. Okay? When you start from, this is just my own personal experience, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but from 80 to 90%, people are starting to take care of their health. They're probably taking some supplements. As you get up in the higher ends of it, they're probably even doing some meditative exercises, because that opens the cosmic energy channels through the chakras, which we're going to talk about in a minute, to bring in life force energy directly, on and on. And above 90% is really tough to get to in our current state of affairs on our planet right now, because we have a constant bombardment from electromagnetics, chemicals, toxins, poisons, pests. It's tough to get it above 90, unless you're using technology like this and working on yourself regularly. Acid-alkaline balance. This is your battery in your body. If your acid or your alkaline balance is out of balance in one direction or the other, you're not going to have the energy. We're talking again now the vector, the electrical energy in the body to make the information stick. His is fine. And then we've got the sodium chloride, which are the salts in the body, and the salts are the little radio crystal transmitters that send the information from one to the other. So if there are not enough salts in the body, then you don't have the communication towers talking to one another. So I would balance those first if that was necessary. But they were fine for Robert. Okay, so, and you guys notice I'm doing most of this from my SE5. This is interactive with the computer. I can do most of there are a couple mouse clicks that I need to do with a mouse, but most of the stuff I can do right from the SE5. It has interactive USB connection to the computer. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a tuning. And this particular program, the chakra and organ one, is the one I want to use, so I'm going to go ahead and select it. And I'm going to check each one of his chakras, and if I find a chakra that's not 100% or it's down a little bit, then I'll look at which organs are related to that. Now this is the key. The chakras are transducers of cosmic energy, right? This cosmic energy comes from wherever it comes from. If it's coming from inside or outside the universe, it's kind of an envelope. So if it's internal or external, it doesn't mean it's coming from outer space. but it is cosmic energy. And the chakras transform that cosmic energy into physical, nutritional energy. There are people, and I've met some of them, that do not eat food. Period. Don't. Okay? They're called breatharians. And they do not eat food. But they do have to go into these meditative states in order to draw in more excess of this cosmic energy to create nutrients. They're healthy, normal people. If the chakra is closed for some reason, could be an emotional trauma, could be some type of any type of trauma. If the chakra is shut down, it will starve the organs, and that will manifest as physical diseases in those organs that are related to that chakra. Likewise, on the other hand, if there is a trauma to one or more organs, it will try to draw too much cosmic energy through that chakra, and it can cause the chakra to shut down because it's trying to get too much energy through the pipe. And we can tell that difference with this measurement, with this particular method. There's a way to tell. Is it primarily chakra or is it primarily organ in terms of what's causing the problem? Is that interesting? Okay. So I'm going to take the first reading and for the crown chakra, and you guys all know how the stick plate works, right? Is there anybody that doesn't? No, it's okay. So I'm rubbing on the plate and I'm going to dial down from 100 until I get a sticking effect, and I get 91%. So there's a little bit of something in there. It's not major, but there's something in there. So I'm going to go ahead and select that level. I'm going to add that measurement of the crown chakra into his little database session. And then I'm going to go down one at a time, and I'm not going to measure each one of these. Again, this is like scanning a list with your probe or something. Every time I do this, whatever information is on that screen shows up on my SE5 screen. So right now we're at adenoids, and that one showed up, and so that one should be 100%, and we'll see where that's at. They're about 80%. So I'm not going to balance this right now, even though it's low. I'm going to just put it into his session, and then the computer, I'll turn that on and let that balance while I'm doing something else. Okay, so we got reading on the adenoids, and we'll continue down. Okay, got stick on the spinal cord. %. So that's something that is most likely physical, from my reading level. Kind of my reading sense is that if it's 100% down to 80%, it's probably non-physical, but it's like a miasm might be, or potential. It's a potential. If it's below 80 to, let's say, 80 to 70%, it's most likely physical, but may not have any symptoms. If it's below 70%, I don't have to ask. It's like, it's pretty much a slam dunk of what. That's kind of my own reading of what I kind of go by. Okay, neck. Showing up again. Something going on there. Spinal cord and spine. Okay, 87%, not too bad. Tonsils, parathyroid. There's something in the lungs. So we've got several organs that are complaining, let's say. 78% on that one. We've got several organs that are complaining about this particular, on the crown chakra. So when it's a bunch of organs, it can be the crown chakra is just a little closed, but I'll show you how we determine that after we get done. Okay, so I'm going to go back a level, and we'll check the brow chakra. That's 93%. Again, there's something a little bit going on in there, but it's not major. I want to keep going, see if there's anything that's more pronounced. Throat chakra is also 93. Heart chakra is good. It's 98. Solar plexus. Okay. Okay. That's where we've got. See, now that's when you get a chakra of 72%. That's there's going to be something really vibrating in there underneath of there. So I'm going to go ahead and look at that one. Just make a note of it here. computer store that. And I think I'll skip your fallopian tubes. Okay, liver showed up. Let's see, where's livers? Oh yeah, okay. 55%. So that's, you know, we can't really feel our liver, but if we could feel our liver, I would guess his would be feeling. Okay? So that's a fairly primary. When it's down that low, it's fairly primary. You have no ovaries, so we're going to skip the ovaries. No vagina this time. Okay, so that's the end of that one. So under that chakra primarily was liver. Liver pulling down that chakra. And again, it could be the chakra, but when it's usually fairly isolated like that, of course this is just information for you. It doesn't mean it's hard and fast rule, but generally, if there's only one organ and the chakra is low, it's usually the organ pulling down the chakra. If there's a whole bunch of organs, like it was in the first one, it's probably the chakra that's closing down and starving several of the organs. This is from my experience. Okay, so where were we? Solar plexus. Let's go to root chakra, sacral chakra. 99. Okay, very good. So now we're going to save that, and we have a little overview of each one of his chakras and related organs. And of course we could print out this report and you can email it or send it or keep it or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. Now we can also, at this time, we could add some geometric forms, sounds. We even have videos, like we have different chakra videos that we can play at the same time. We've got the image sets from Savinchni's. They're kind of like Malcolm Ray's things. For example, we've got so many different things here. We've also got these great, you can put in any images. We've got these great images from a Dutch artist that Jan knows and got for me. For example, you can use your scanner and you could scan, you know, your stick plate while you go over these images to see which one you might need. Okay, this image showed up. It doesn't have a name, but I would go ahead and put that in my image set. And then you can add more. So you can add a whole bunch of these images. Gratitude. You know, I put that one in almost every session.
I like that one.
It's really good. And so you could have a whole bunch of these. I'm just going to call this one Robert for his image set and save it. And then I can put in how long to play each one of these images. And I like to test for that to see how long. So about 8 seconds each. So I'm going to just put in 8. And save that. So when
Save during, play during
that's just for the video. Yeah, the image set one is separate. So I'll save this. No, getting out of hand here. Come on, mouse. Okay, so now I've done an analysis, and I found out what he needed, and I saved it, and now we would balance it, right? Now, that's the beautiful part. We could run just the negative tunings, or the positive tunings, or both of them. And then this little magic one down here called run multiple sessions. When you're working with digital photos, you can actually set up, let's say, 10 different clients, and it'll run one person after the other person, after the other person, after the other person. So generally what's nice to do is to do your analysis in the daytime and then set them up to run one after the other overnight. Then you don't have to be at your instrument. But since I only have one session, I'm just going to say run both, and I call up Robert's session. And again, I like to find out how many seconds to balance each tuning. So just about 3 seconds, and then how long to wait. So about 3 seconds on, then 3 seconds off. That's what his system is saying will integrate the information for each one of the tunings. And then after that, how many repeats of the entire session is it going to take to really balance everything? So I'll measure that. And just as a little side note, I just want to give Ludi a plug here, because I learned, she was one of my first teachers, and she taught me so much. I tell you, she's a wealth of wisdom. And she's going to be teaching for 2 days after this convention as well. I'll teach for 2 days, and she'll teach for 2 days. And just, I mean, it's amazing. Thank you. So we're ready to balance. And so all I have to do is click Run Session. And up comes my balancing window, and I just click Start, and it automatically puts the SE5 into balance. It'll start playing the different images down there below. And then it'll shift on my SE5. When it's a positive tuning, it'll shift the amplitude up to 100%, and when it's a negative or non-positive tuning, it'll shift it back down to 0. So we're balancing the positive ones up and the negative ones down. That's really an intentional thing, but we like to add that little thing in there. So it tells you it's going to take 8 minutes and 37 seconds, counting down, to balance this entire session for him. I don't have that much time, so I'm not going to let it run for 8 minutes, otherwise then we could check back with him and say, okay, so how are you feeling afterwards? Since I've done this 100 times, I know the answer. But I do want to get through the third part, which is a very fascinating part.